Hi, and welcome to another edition of South Texas Weekly. I'm your host, Naxieli Lopez. Today's show focuses on the rapidly growing entertainment industry in the Valley. From up-and-coming comedians to locally produced films to comic book creators, the Valley has it all. And South Texas Weekly has the inside scoop. So stick around, we have an excellent show for you. Aaron Moses and Omer Garcia are two local comic book creators who have come together to bring their own heroes to life, and they sat down with Emery Ferguson to tell us more.
Hi, I'm Emery Ferguson with South Texas Weekly, and we first met these two gentlemen at OmniCon, where they introduced their new comic books. Now, Aaron and Omer have come back to talk to us a second time. So let's talk about your origins, guys. How did you guys first get into drawing? How did you get into art?
I got into art as I was growing up reading comic books at the age of 10 to the age of 15. It was a development stage from then on as I was developing a character on through my teenage years.
I got into comic books, I guess it was about 5th grade, and I started out with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles out of the Archie imprint, and pretty much from there that's kind of where it's always started my interest in comics.
Cool. So who are your favorites?
I could say when it comes to artists, I'm looking at Jim Lee, Todd McFarlane, Joe Quesada, Steve Ditko, and legends like Jack Kirby and Bob Kane.
Basically the same guys he mentioned. As I grew up, the guys who inspire me now are the ones that have more of that fine art kind of quality and that have kind of merged those two things. And one of the big ones is David Mack, also Bill Sienkiewicz and Kent Williams and Dave McKeenan. Those guys kind of put a big push towards the kind of work that I'm trying to make now. But again, all the guys he mentioned, I love all those guys, Frank Miller, Jim Lee, yeah, all those guys. So.
How did you guys come to make your own comics? I mean, how did you develop your characters? Where did they come from?
As far as my character, I kind of created him circa 95, 96 in high school. Me and a friend wanted to make a little mini comic and distribute that to all our friends, so we did that. And then later on in college, and when I was in community college, I kind of brought the character back a little bit, but as I focused more on my major, which was fine arts, and I have a bachelor's degree in fine arts and a master's, because now I got a job teaching at South Texas College, so that's really my bread and butter, and I do the comics for fun and because I have a need for artistic expression, of course. So that's basically the origins for my character. It kind of developed in high school, and now I've kind of refined the idea because I really have a need to be creative. And if I wasn't making comics, I'd be making paintings. And even though I've taken a break from the paintings, I'm working on the comics now. I hope to get back to making some gallery work and get to work on some paintings.
Now, on that note, tell us about the Opossum and Glitch. Let's hear a little bit about your characters.
The Opossum started off really as a way to vent out a lot of angst, anger, as I was growing up as a teenager. It was really my way of venting out a lot of the troubled youth that I felt like I was going through. All I had to do was just look out my window, and I saw my next door neighbor trying to kill off a 5-foot opossum by his yard. He was as the more he would try to kill it, the more this opossum would struggle to live on and just try to get away from this man. I felt very much related to that kind of ideology of the way I was feeling throughout that time. And a lot of it also had to do with irony. I love the irony in a lot of things that I do. And the irony was that something that somebody can hate so much can be their savior at the same time. You know, it all started to work for me, and I just rolled with it as a character. And I used that as the basis, and that's where the Opossum idea came from.
The idea for Glitch, as far as it is now in its current form, really has refined itself as I'm trying to make it more cerebral, and it's based on things about my own personal histories and things like that. But it's about an individual basically trying to discover themselves, and that's what I think college did for me. as far as getting to the point I am now. And that's kind of the essence of the overall story for this initial part of my character, Glitch, which I'm still working on the book, and currently I'm working on it organically, so I don't have a structured story, so I don't have necessarily a beginning and end, but I know where it's going now, and I've got some ideas of what it's going to be scripted like, and hopefully by the time I'm finished, I have maybe 3 to 6 books.
Now, you guys are self-published. What are the hardships of getting self-published? Like, how long did it take to get the first issue out? What are your deadlines? Things like that.
Well, getting the first issue done really was I would call it like a process, kind of like a marathon race, and nothing was done automatically, especially with our finances and our time. Both Omer and I work full-time jobs, and the struggles that we had to come into terms into getting these books off the ground were struggles. Omer was the one that found out about this company online called Kablam, that's a self-printing company. He told me, and it interested me very much to go that avenue, and they themselves have their own catalog of their own independent comic books called Indie Planet, which is where they hold the Opossum, and it was just we just took it from there, and it worked in our favor, where every book that got sold, all they're charging is the printing cost. So the printing on demand really helped us with my budget, and including like when we go out to like shows and conventions, it's not so much of a big cost when we order a certain amount of books than it would be to order at a big printing company.
Yeah, to get offset printing. We just couldn't afford to do that entirely now. But our overall plans are eventually to find a publisher and try to get published through them. But if that doesn't happen, then we'll just keep self-publishing as best we can. As far as my book goes, I'm currently, like I said, trying to get it to a finish point and then have that to propose to a major publisher and try to get published that way. And at the same time, as we work on the Opossum more and more, hopefully we can approach the same method and try to get the Opossum published that way so we can have a national distribution. And it's not necessarily for the money or anything like that. It's about putting the work out there and having the availability for other people to see it. And as it is, we already put our own money into it to self-publish. And that's kind of where we're at as far as that kind of business aspect with publishing goes.
Do you guys do your own writing, drawing, coloring, stuff like that? I mean, or is it a team effort? Are there people behind the scenes that give you a hand?
When I came in with Omer, when I met him at an art show in Bronzeville that he was doing, and his work caught my attention. It had that comic book finesse to it, and as I met him, he was reading a David Mack Kabuki trade paperback. So, so we got into our conversations when it came to comics, our love of comics, and I told him what I was working on. He told me what he was working on, and it became a team effort.
Right then and there, he said, "Do you want to do the cover to the Opossum?" And I said, "Maybe."
And of course, like when I came into the whole thing with the Opossum introduction, I came to him with the story. I told him that I was going to do all the character art. There's another inker that's helping me out as well, who's actually the individual who painted this T-shirt by the name of L.A. Vera, who's excellent when it comes to background work, and his inking skills have developed over the years. And it's a team effort, really, I guess, if you want to put it that way. It's a little bit of flavors coming from him, my other inker friend as well, and just the stuff that I had to put onto the table, my idea, my art, and of course the character himself, the Opossum that I brought into the fold.
I help a little bit. I say a little bit, but it's kind of a lot on the Opossum book because I love comics, and I would love to help anybody who's interested in making comics. Of course, I don't always have free time to do it, but I'm more than willing to offer advice in any way I can and try to be helpful and positive so that people can get their work done and hopefully make something at the end of it. With Aaron's book, I help with editing and writing as best I can to fill in things here and there where he might have overlooked something and things like that. And I now I'm helping a little bit with some of the inking and some gray tones and things like that. But I do all the graphic design work for him on the computer and stuff like that, and prep all the files and send them off to get printed and things like that. But as far as my book goes, I do everything. I do the drawing, the penciling, the inking, the painting, the watercoloring, the lettering. I do everything on my book. Just because I kind of know what I want, and not because of like controlling the whole thing, but because I have something I'm trying to do, and I want to be self-reliant. I don't necessarily want to wait on having to have somebody else do something. Although I have no problem with making collaborative work, and I'm hoping Aaron will at some point toss me a nice cover my way for an issue of Glitch at some point, or anybody else. I mean, I love seeing the fan artwork. I've received 2 or 3 pieces, and I put them into my mini comic, which in no real way do I see as a real comic. As far as I'm concerned, there's only been 2 guys who've done something related to comics about or here in the Valley, and one of them is Richard Dominguez, the creator of El Gato Negro, and the other guy is this guy right here, Aaron Moses, who actually made a real full-size comic. So, and that's pretty much it. So
awesome. So would you guys ever maybe be interested in seeing your characters in a live-action version of themselves?
Yes, we would. Yes, we would.
No, absolutely not. No, I wouldn't. No, I'm kidding. It would be fantastic to see a film.
That would be something.
Yeah.
That would be an astonishing sight, and especially if I'm gonna make a cameo. You know, I'd love that. You know? Of course, of course.
Cool, cool. So if our viewers are interested in seeing your work, where can they go to find it?
If they like to view pages of the Opossum or anything related to the news of the comic book and the stuff that Omer and I are working on, they can go to www.theopossum.com, or they can go to
myspace.com/OmerGlitch, and I think yours is what, myspace.com/Aaron Moses the Opossum.
The Opossum.
Yeah.
So
great. Now, before we part here, do you guys have any advice for people who are trying to follow this path?
all I can say is what one individual told me was, you know, you've got to give your ganas. It's all about the will,
right.
the determination. How bad do you want it? How bad do you want this out? How bad do you want to see it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and that's what it comes down to, because, you know, I mean, that's what you can be the Da Vinci of artists, you know, but, you know, it's the heart that matters.
Yeah, there has to be a real desire, and certainly you have to be self-motivated more than anything. If you're the artist writer, or you're collaborating with somebody else, there has to be a self-motivation when it comes to drawing out the work, because a lot of young guys and kids, at least that I've talked to and stuff like that, you know, they'll draw 2 or 3 pages and then they kind of lose steam after that, and they get bored of drawing the same thing over and over again in a slightly different way, basically. And you just have to be persistent, and you have to really want to do it. And once you get past those, you know, 5, 6, 10 pages, it just kind of starts happening on its own, and it becomes its own entity, and it has its own magic and power, and you just kind of push it along, and it happens, and eventually you'll have something that you can be proud of, and hopefully you want to share it with other people, because, I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of people that draw and make their own work, and it's just for themselves, and they're happy with it. So, you know, don't be too selfish. Share it with other people, and,
right.
and online is one great way to self-publish.
And I guarantee, once you see the end result, you might even surprise yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for sitting with us, guys. Aaron Moses and Omer Garcia, everybody. Keep an eye out for him.
All right, this concludes this week's edition of South Texas Weekly. Make sure to check us out next Saturday at noon. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next week.